I'd like to bring this meeting back to order. Next, we have public participation. If you'd like to address the town council, please come forward and state your name and address. Just as a reminder that we do have a handful of rules, 5-minute limit. Also, got to be respectful, which seems like common sense, but I do want to remind people of that. Anyone? Al?
Thank you for having me tonight at the end of the meeting, which I think is probably a good idea, because if there's any presentations during the meeting, the public can come up afterwards and get... Ken, I didn't hear you.
Could you put the mic closer to your phone?
Your face.
The phone's in a different place. My mouth is probably a better one. Thank you. So I'm glad to be up here at the end of the meeting. One of the things that caught my ear last time when you went back and talked about updating the rules or the guidelines as they're currently stated. And it seems to me when I looked at the minutes and looked at the previous 2016, you only added one line item, which was, make sure you're nothing personal. Well, I went back and I read the FOI presentation we had in September 2021. And they had an awful lot of information about what best you can do. And it really restates what your first line item is. Jonathan, you're in charge. Okay? You can clear the room if you want to. So I'm not sure why we needed to go to a lawyer to get this done, because it's your meeting, you control it, and if you want to add the 6th line item to be nothing personal, I hope mentioning your name is not personal, but thank you anyway.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I just started the timer on my phone for 5 minutes to make it easier. Catherine Camera, 31 Cottage Place, Oakville. So I'm glad this is at the end of the meeting. I think it makes more sense. I do have an issue with that $950,000 appropriation out of the general fund. I agree with Mr. Vitalik. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. I would really hope that at the next meeting we could get more information on that. It was very, very vague. So I'd appreciate that. I would also like to ask, if you're changing how you're running your public participation, that maybe you could have a write-up, because when you go to planning and zoning, they have specific, they tell you what they expect you to do for their public hearing. I know it's not a public hearing, but it's public participation. Because there was a lot of things in the Town Times that made it sound like, and I do worry about impeding on our First Amendment right. In the United States, we have the right to criticize our government. And so when I'm reading that, it's looking like, well, if you criticize the government, you're going to get thrown out. And that could really be a problem, because if you have people who come up and praise the government, and that's okay, but then you have people who complain about it and they get thrown out, that's a First Amendment right issue. I don't think we really want to go down that road. And I also, it would be nice to know who can, I've said this before, and you did say that you won't allow people to repeat. I wasn't sure if you meant you won't allow people to repeat when they're up here. Unfortunately, some people have brain issues and they might repeat, or if you meant repeat something that was brought up before. I did mention this before, that if I'm bringing something, this is a town council meeting, and you won't respond to me, I don't expect anybody else to respond. That's just unfortunately how it is. There would have to be some other, I don't know what the criteria is, so it would be nice to know what that is, because I'm assuming that anything we say up here gets 0 response. It would also be good to know what the complaint procedure is, and don't freak out, but The police department has a very clear complaint procedure, and the town council does not if you have an issue with the town manager. So I think it would be a good idea to understand if I can't bring something up to you at your town council meeting, and I've also done it in writing, and it gets zero response and zero attention, then what is the procedure? And there is none. There's nothing that says what the procedure is. It could save a lot of issues if we had a procedure, because there should be. There should be. If you have one for the police department or for other employees, then there should be a procedure, and it should be spelled out, and it would save a lot of problems. And I still have 1 minute and 51 seconds left, so I do want to repeat that it would be nice to have some sort of a time clock. It's nice to be able for me to look at it, but you don't see it, because it is helpful to know that you're paying attention to me rather than worrying about how much time I'm talking. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the town council? If I recall, you got 3 minutes left.
Al Mickle, 95 Woodvine Avenue. Catherine reminded me, we have a First Amendment right, so I'd like to bring to the council's attention the Watertown Democratic Town Committee fundraiser is Wednesday night. If you need a ticket, please see me. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to address the town council? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn? So moved. Have a good night.
Recording stopped.